is Aliza Bloom Robinson, and she was Dennis's and my Bible teacher before we started seminary at Unity. So we go back a long way. She has been ordained Unity minister since 2000, and she is an author and speaker. She is also a consultant to Unity Worldwide Ministries. She has a private practice that involves awakening and embodiment. You can learn more about her on her website, alizabloomrobinson.com. And she is also a quantum analyst, and I want to ask her about that because I don't know what that is. But first, we're going to have some music, which Aliza has chosen. And Aliza, can you remember the title of it by Karen Drucker?
Can, yes, thank you. It's by my friend Karen Drucker. It's called Beautiful, True, and Divine. And it will set us up perfectly for my talk, which is about the dance between our humanity and our divinity. So please just enjoy. Karen, if you feel like singing along, please mute yourselves, but go for it. Thanks, Kyle. Do you feel it? Do you know it? I mean, we know it, right, in theory, but how much do you really feel that you are beautiful and true and divine? My work in the world these days as a quantum catalyst, thank you for setting that up, Susan. I wasn't going to go there, but since you said, but my work in the world today is to activate, to facilitate, to offer an opening, an opportunity for people, for you to realize your divinity and to realize your brilliance, not separate from your humanity, but in the fullness of your humanity. And when we do that for real, when we do that at a deeper level, it can change everything. Because what I experience in the world is we talk a good talk, but we don't embody what we talk about. So the quantum catalyst piece is to, well, I've actually, probably I can say that more in our Q&A afterwards, but it's about activating the divinity. So this talk is about that dance between our humanity and our divinity. So I'm going to start with a Hindu legend. There was once a time when all humans were gods, but we abused our divinity so much that Brahma said, we got to hide it. Brahma was the chief god. We got to take it away from them and we got to hide it where they are never, ever going to find it again. So where to hide it was the question. So Brahma called a council of the gods to help him. Let's bury it deep in the earth. No, they'll dig through the earth and they'll find it. Let's sink it into the deepest ocean. No, they'll learn to dive into the ocean and they'll find it there. Let's take it to the top of the highest mountain. No, they'll climb it and they'll find it again. So the gods were like giving up. And then someone said, there's no place to hide it. And one of them had an idea. I have an idea. We'll hide their divinity deep in the center of their own beings, for they'll never think to look for it there. And all the gods agreed this was a perfect place. And the deed was done. And since that time, we have been going down into the earth and down into the ocean and up on the mountains trying to find that which is already within us. And we teach in Unity and in New Thought that there's only one presence and one power. We call it God, and God is good all the time. We call that quantum. We call that absolute. Emily Cady uses the terms in Lessons in Truth, the absolute and the relative. We're going to use the word divinity and humanity. So our divinity is part of who we are. It's already within us. We don't have to go searching for it. We don't have to get better for it or heal for it. We don't have to change. It's already within us. And yet most of our experience on the planet is from our humanity. Emily Cady calls that the relative world. Quantum physics calls it the particle. It's our personality, it's our ego, it's our issues, it's our wars, it's our climate, it's the stuff of the material world. Now, some of us want to deny our humanity in favor of our divinity, but that's not what we're here on the planet to do. We're actually here on the planet to begin the dance between our humanity and our divinity. So I like to say that our humanity is a horizontal axis and our divinity is a vertical one. And when we get too far off on the horizontal, we go wobbly. Oh, let me fall right off the screen there, right? But when we can find the sweet spot, the intersection between our humanity and our divinity, that is our Christ presence. That is our portal, really, into our divinity. And so we have to embrace, really, our humanity. We have to accept our humanity as the gift that it is. And it is a gift in all of it, the good and the bad and the hot and the cold and the ugly and the beautiful, all of it. But when we come to know that we are divine beings on a human journey, right? We're on a spiritual journey, but in the human experience. And it's like, I'm not saying anything new, I'm sure, but I hope to present it in a new way that you can kind of grab a glimmer of, oh, like let your mind blow. That's my favorite thing to do. Like, please let your minds be blown today. Don't be thinking, I already know all this. I know you already know it, but what if you could hear it in a different way today? What if you could pivot just a little bit? And so one of the ideas that I want to bring today comes from Lowell Fillmore. Lowell was Charles of Myrtle's son. He was the longest living. He was a brilliant being, a brilliant consciousness. And he said that he was talking about the states of consciousness, right? We live in the world of human. He said man, but we have to say human now because we know it's not just man, but humanity. And in our humanity, we can raise our consciousness. So we can raise our consciousness, and that's spiral dynamics, it's Maslow's needs, it's Abraham Hicks and raising our consciousness. But where we've gotten confused, where we've really made the states of consciousness into a psychological drama, really. But the state of humanity is actually a different reality than the state of divinity. It's not raising consciousness. You raise consciousness, you have greater access to our divinity, but they're actually two different, I want to say phases of consciousness. That's what I've been saying, but I want to say it different today. It's actually two different realities. It's like parallel lives, if you will. It's like our humanity is a different phase, is a different reality, is a different plane than our divinity. Again, we come back to that dance, we come back to that sweet spot where we can access all of it. So why do we need to raise consciousness? Well, because the higher our consciousness, the more we have access to our divinity. That sounds a little like, wait, what? But the divinity comes to us in moments of inspiration, in moments of meditation, in awakening moments, in any moment that we can bypass or interrupt the loopy mind, the mind that goes yada 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 and and the life and the the obstacles, right? All of it. Anytime we can interrupt our consciousness for that which is greater, we're actually step into a new plane of existence. Jesus called that the kingdom of heaven. He also said the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It's closer than your hands and feet. It's closer than the air you breathe. It's not some far off place that we go to later. It's right here. It's right now. So how do we dance this dance with a new rhythm. So in my work, in my private practice, if you will, but in my work in the world, what I have been experiencing and talking about for quite a few years is new humanity. But what I'm discovering and what I'm loving so much is new ways to access this. So Tukaram, I think that's how you say it, has a little poem. It says, it's called, at least at first he looked confused. It goes like this: I could not lie anymore. So I started to call my dog God. At first he looked confused. Then he started smiling. Then he even danced. I kept at it. Now he doesn't even bite. Wondering if it might work on people too. At first, we started to call the dog or the people God. And at first we get confused, and then we smile, and then we even dance. So when we look at our humanity, when we experience our humanity, when we are having the experience of whatever's going on, I heard some prayer requests, some prayers being mentioned, so whatever in the midst of, right? And what we want to do, or what we are trained to do, or what we often do, is we try to deny it. It's like, no, it's nothing wrong. I don't care. I don't want to. I just like ignore it, right? Or we get so engrossed in it, it's like all we can do. Neither of those things is wrong. And if we could find the place where we can land in the truth of what is, this is what my experience in my humanity, in my relative world is. This is what it is. And begin to sit with that in the stillness. What happens, or what can happen, is our consciousness expands. We don't try to push it away. We don't get immersed in it, but our consciousness expands. And then we can access divinity. And from that place, we have no more resistance to our humanity. And we have no more resistance to our humanity. That's where healing happens. That's where our minds are quantum shifted. That's where our realities completely change. And also in the Eastern traditions, there's the god called Ganesh, who's the obstacles, right? And the slayers of obstacles. But really, if you study that, it is about not trying to get rid of, which we're really good at in our humanity. Pushing away, ignoring, denying. I'm not talking about the power of affirmations and denials. I'm talking about saying, that's not. But it is about bringing it present, looking at it, allowing it, accepting that it is. Not that it has to be forever, not that it has any power over you, but this is what I'm experiencing right now. So you can do it with your health, with your wealth, your finances, your relationships, your triggers, whatever, right? You just sit with it and go, well, okay, this is what is. But if you sit in the stillness of it, like just allowing it, and your consciousness expands to encompass it, to enfold it, then that issue dissipates. Or it can. That frustration, that irritation, that fight that we have, because that fight is a part of our humanity, not our divinity. The stillness is the divinity. It is the light. It is the life. It is the love of all that is. So what do you do with this? How do you land in this? I want to share a quote out of my books called Paradox of Awakening, Finding Peace in a World of Chaos. I think I've talked about this book with this group before, but I pull to it often because, well, it's good. I do say so myself. So when life gets tough, keep going. When life slows down, quit pushing. So which is it? This is the book about the paradoxes. How do we navigate the paradoxes, right? In spiritual awakening. So if life gets tough, keep pushing. If life gets slow, when life quiets down, quit pushing. The simple answer is if you are in denser energy, if you are mired in our human experience, right? Again, the triggers, the lack of worth, the challenges that come in life. And you are pushing in the denser vibration, and it can be overwhelm or fear or stress, quit pushing, right? It feels counterintuitive. But from a denser energy, the push is only creating more resistance. Instead, quit pushing, take a break, go outside, find a way to raise your vibration. What's raising consciousness? And if you're in a place where life is going really smooth, like you are on a flow, like the creative energies are moving, or you're feeling really, really good, that actually is the time to push more. Because you're not pushing the river, you're flowing with the river. So we have it all backwards. We tend to push when things aren't going well, but that creates useless and unnecessary suffering. We don't even know how much we push. We don't even realize how it would be to surrender fully to the process. What if you were to take a few moments each time you notice you're pushing and back off? And that backing off, it's like the horizontal axis, right? You come, every time you back off, you come closer to that sweet spot. Keep your eye and your vibration on what would you love? How do you want to feel? Happy, creative, beautiful, alive, awake. And find ways to do that. That makes sense. Again, this is nothing really new here, but finding that dance, like, how do you feel? Like the other day, this happened to me, and I hadn't been triggered like this for a long, long time. This was a couple of weeks ago, so it was pretty recent. And I was talking to somebody who I didn't know, we were in a conversation, like a discovery culture conversation kind of. So we were just like, is this gonna be something we want to continue to pursue? Brand new person I've never talked to before. And she was so fascinating to me. But what happened is I got triggered. Like, I don't get triggered that often anymore. I mean, I work in transition, I work in conflict, I work in awakening, I don't get triggered, just not very often. But boy, I got triggered. And I'm like, so I stopped her. I said, pause. Okay, so here's my request. And she said, no. And I'm like, oh, okay. So here's what I could have done. I could have said, great, thank you for the call. Have a blessed day, and hang up. But I didn't. I pushed, and she pushed back, and we were like in this push dance. And we finally ended the call, and I'm like so stirred up. I'm like, I'm like, okay, girl, what's going on here? Like, what got triggered in me? Something. And it was, so I got to sit with it. I got to look at my resistance. I got to look at why I was triggered. I got to look again at deeper layers of what was coming up for me, not making her wrong. I mean, I could, and I did for a moment, but then I have to turn it back. It's like, what in me is looking to be shifted? And it took a while. I got off that call and I had a 100-mile drive, and it took almost that whole 100 miles. So for me, like working with this, but I went curious about it, right? I knew I was triggered, but even in my triggered, I became curious. I'm like, okay, what can I see here? What is the quantum leap my consciousness is wanting to take? So it was something either I had to own or something that was no longer mine that I had to release. But it was fascinating to observe myself in that process. And then I don't even know exactly what it was at this moment, because usually when you have those moments, then you forget the details, which is brilliant. Thank goodness, right? It's like labor, then you forget. how hard it was in the moment. But I had this moment and something shifted and my whole body relaxed. I went, oh. And I became very curious about whatever, the sun in the sky or something along the highway or something. And everything in my system softened. And that's the point I want to make. When we can honor our humanity, the horizontal axis, honor it, allow it, not try to make it go away, and sit with it, like Ganache, make your consciousness bigger so that it can be a piece, but without trying to move that boulder. Just create the space where you can go around it, or you can go over it or under it or around it. Then I landed in my divinity and everything softened. Now here's the magic about that. Every time we land in that sweet spot, it recalibrates our system. We move from the stress hormones to the feel-good hormones. The biochemical cocktails of our system can flood with good, feel-good hormones and experiences and thoughts, and our neurology can change, our neuropathways can change. Now, I realize that there may be some people in the audience who know a lot more about neuroscience and bioscience than I do, but I know it's true. I know it's true because I've experienced it again and again and again. And so when we find that sweet spot, the dance between our humanity and our divinity is softening the places that are rigid in our minds, softening the rigidity of our minds, right? So that we can discover what we want more of, what we want less of, not trying to make what we want less of going away, but then pivoting our awareness, pivoting our focus and our energy. And then we step into a new reality. The reality that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It is right here. It is right now. We come to know that we are beautiful, true, and divine. Neil Donald Walsh said, the holy experience is when you know the difference between divinity and humanity. And when that difference disappears, they become one when you enter the holy moment. Know the difference. Divinity seeks to distribute, give. Humanity seeks to gather, take. When we come, when we learn to dance in both, the difference goes away and we learn to live in that sweet spot more often than not. That sweet spot is where you know that you are beautiful, true, and divine. And you know that the other, meaning everybody else, everybody else is beautiful, true, and divine. And then you begin to see them that way. Just like calling your dog God. And then miracles happen. And then the world changes. So let's take a few moments in meditation to find this sweet spot. So take a breath in. Close your outer eyes. Another breath in. And imagine that horizontal axis called your humanity. And imagine that vertical axis called your divinity. And come to the sweet spot, come to the intersection of both. It is in this intersection that each disappears and truly becomes one. In this sweet spot, you are calling yourself God. And at first you may be confused, but then you will smile and then you will dance. And soon you won't even bite anymore. Feel that softening. And as your body, mind, heart, soul, spirit softens the places that are rigid, feel that expansion, and that sweet spot grows and expands. Feel it moving from your heart, filling your torso and your limbs and your head. Feel it expanding so much. 360 degrees above and below, all around you. You are now deep in the center. You are one with all that is. This sweet spot holds all of it. Feel how your body has softened. Maybe your shoulders have dropped. Feel how your heart is being ignited with love, with light, with oneness. You might even be able to feel the energy. It might be a tingling, it might be a slight buzz, it might be a warmth. As we focus on it, it expands. Bring into this space any area you might be struggling with. Maybe it's a physical place. Maybe it's a mental place, an emotional place. Just bring it into the center of this expanded, still, quiet place. And feel it softening. And know that in this place, you are one with all that is. You are the absolute. You are the quantum, the field of infinite possibilities, unlimited potential, one with the wave of the universe. And from this place and in this place, you can look at your life in the relative realm. Without judgment, with acceptance, with love. And you can see how the dance between the worlds, absolute, relative, humanity, divinity, wave, particle, how the dance becomes the doorway to all that you desire. Feel that. Experience that. Claim that. Put your hand on your heart as a symbol of receiving. As a symbol of being. and say to yourself, I am beautiful. I am true. I am divine. And so it is. And so we let it be. Amen.